why did we come up with that Org Topologies thing? It happened many, many years ago already when Alexei and I, when we met as we were consultants and coaches, and we met each other on conferences, and we spoke to each other a lot about what we do when we go to companies. And we noticed that it was a bit vague. It always takes some time when you chat with a colleague about, so how are they doing agile in your company? Because, well, we do SAFe, or we do team topologies, which is a great way of giving an indication of what the organization is like. But on the other hand, it doesn't convey a lot of information, a lot of detail. It's a bit like it could be anything. You have different ways of doing team topologies. Maybe you have a lot of stream-aligned teams, and maybe you have an enormous big platform group with many, many, many people in there. It all depends. So we're really looking for a need to be more transparent and concrete about what it is that exactly the customer was doing, how they were organizing themselves. And just drawing an organogram didn't really cut it. Now, a second thing that we noticed was that there is this concept called framework thinking. The directors of a company, they have problems, they need to adopt agile or whatever they need to do. And then they ask a consultancy firm to tell them what to do. And then they buy those PowerPoint slides and they roll out a framework without really knowing what the consequences are and without really understanding which problems that framework will or will not solve. They hope that magically the framework will solve all their problems. And of course, that's not true. So that's the concept that we call framework thinking. We see too many frameworks, and we believe that there's something much more fundamental required to engage in a real transformation that will give benefits to the company and the people working in it. So we were thinking we need to create something that goes beyond those frameworks or even lower than the frameworks to be more fundamental. And then the third reason was actually we love less large-scale Scrum. And we wanted to contribute to supporting those ideas because we see that although large-scale Scrum has been around for quite some years already, they didn't achieve to become market leader, although we think they should be. So that was one of the original ideas, like let's help less in conveying their message. Fourth reason was especially Alexei who pointed that out to me. He said, Roland, don't you see that in the world of agile coaching and Scrum and agile adoptions, there's too much focus on the teams. I was like, really? And then I scratched my back of my head and said, yeah, actually, you're right. It's always about let's make teams faster. And we need a product owner and a product backlog per team. And we need a Scrum master per team to make those teams fast. And that's a clear indication actually of optimizing locally. When you make one team really fast, that doesn't imply that the customer will be more happy or that the whole organization will be faster. So this idea of moving away from only focusing on making teams better, we wanted to make something that would help people to look more at an organization for product development as a system with parts in it. And system thinking says, you need to look at the whole and not at the individual parts to increase performance. And we also formulated, while we were talking and started to create Org Topologies for all this, we also put a spot on the wall and created a 1,000-year goal. And the 1,000-year goal is really to reduce suffering in organizations. And we used to say in suffering in product development, but we've stretched the applicability of Org Topologies to also be useful in service organizations. So I think reduce suffering in organizations in general is a real good goal. Now, the idea behind this one, I need to explain briefly, is that, I'm talking to adults here in this group. We're all adults, and we really make big decisions in our private lives. We go into financial agreements, buying a house, we take a loan, we buy a car, we take responsibility over life. We can get kids. And we make difficult decisions on diseases and treatments in hospitals. But as soon as we come into an organization, we're actually expected to listen to a boss. So the idea behind this last remark of reducing the suffering is let's really tap into the power of the human beings that are thinking machines, and that have great ideas, instead of trying to put them in small boxes and not really getting the benefit that we could get. So for all this, is fundamental for the creation of Org Topologies.